We've learned how upsetting feelings don't just happen, but instead they're caused by quick thoughts called poison thoughts that pop into our heads. We learned about antidote thoughts that we can give ourselves to fight poison thoughts. And by looking at other people's minds to see how they deal with their problems, we can learn how to fix our own upsetting thoughts and feelings. We learned there's 5 kinds of poison thoughts: black and white thinking, predicting without proof, searching for the bad, ignoring the good, blaming, and rigid thinking. Now we're going to learn more about blaming. Blaming others too much, and blaming yourself too much. It's normal to do blaming sometimes. All of us have something inside us that's like a little judge to help us decide who is responsible for things that happen. Examples of blaming too much. Other people cause my worst problems. They keep making mistakes and breaking rules. I have done bad things that have ruined everything. Antidote thoughts for blaming. You can't blame others for everything. It's not your job to be the judge all the time. You are probably making your faults seem too big. Blaming. When your mind decides that somebody else is to blame when maybe they aren't. When your mind blames you for problems that might not really be your fault. We are now inside the mind of Jason, a boy who was in his bedroom alone, crying. Jason was looking forward to the comic book convention, but now he's grounded. His parents warned him that he had to clean his room first, but Jason couldn't find the time to do it. As Jason sits in his room crying, he thinks, "It's no fair. My parents are so mean." Jason and the next few people in this video all have poison thoughts about blaming others too much. Can you think of some antidote thoughts that would help Jason now? When people are angry, they often blame other people for their problems, and this can make things get even worse. Can you think of a time when you blamed someone too much? What poison thoughts did you get at that time? What antidote thoughts did you need? You can pause the video at this point if you need time to think and remember. We are in the mind of a boy named John, who's furious at his mother. John's mother did not remind him to wear sneakers to school that day, so John is not allowed to play in the gym with the other students. As John watches the other kids in the gym, he thinks to himself, "My mom ruined my day." Is John being fair? Can you think of antidote thoughts that might help John? It feels uncomfortable when we blame ourselves for a problem, so people sometimes blame others instead. If you do it a lot, it can make you unhappy. What about you? Can you think of another time when you unfairly blamed someone in your family for something? What was your poison thought? What antidote thoughts did you need? We're in the mind of a girl named Julia. Maria and Julia sit together on the bus every day, but today Julia sees that Maria is sitting with someone else. Julia thinks, "Maria is not a real friend to me anymore." Who is Julia blaming, and why? What antidote thoughts does she need? Often we expect a lot out of our friends, but if you act like a mean judge with a friend, you risk losing the friendship altogether. Can you think of any time that you might have been too hard on a friend like Julia has? What was your poison thought at the time? What antidote thoughts did you need? Now we are in the mind of a girl named Sandra. Sandra got bumped in the hallway and her books and papers got scattered everywhere. Sandra thinks, "Kids are always bumping me on purpose." What are a few different reasons that Sandra might have gotten bumped? What are some antidote thoughts that she could use now? When your mind thinks very quickly, the part of your brain that acts as a judge can sometimes make wrong decisions. For example, you can end up blaming someone when it was actually an accident. Think about a time when something bad happened to you by accident. Did you blame the other person like a mean judge at the time? What antidote thoughts did you need back then? Now we are in the mind of a boy named Angelo, who was at a church youth group party. In the back of the room, Angelo was playing a video game by himself. Then two girls sneak up. They put their hands over his eyes and say, "Come play tag with us!" This makes Angelo get a low score in the game he's playing. Angelo yells at the girls. He thinks, "Kids are always mean to me at these church parties." Is Angelo fair with the two girls at the party? What antidote thoughts does he need? What can he do and say differently? Again, rushing to blame and judge can cause bad problems in friendships. If you were a friend of Angelo, what kind of advice would you give to him? And has anything like this ever happened to you? What were your own thoughts, and how did you react? What could you say and do which might be different and better? Now we are inside the mind of Kayla, who is having some troubling thoughts. Kayla is beginning to notice that other young people don't seem to like to hang out with her. She thinks to herself, "There's something terribly wrong with me." What are some antidote thoughts that might help Kayla when she feels this way? The next few people shown in the video are doing a different kind of blaming. Instead of unfairly blaming others, they are unfairly judging themselves. Thinking about yourself in this way can make you feel very sad and discouraged. Have you ever gone through a time when you felt like Kayla, lonely and blaming yourself for it? What were your poison thoughts? What antidote thoughts did you need? We are in the mind of a girl named Vicky. She is the second slowest girl on her track team. Her team has not won yet. She thinks, "Because of me, my team loses every time." What are some antidote thoughts that might help Vicky? Vicky holds herself entirely responsible for her track team losing all the time. Have you ever blamed yourself too much for something bad that happened to your family or your class, your school, or your team? What were your poison thoughts? What antidote thoughts did you need? We are now in the mind of Denise, who is thinking about what happened at her dance recital. A week later, Denise still feels terrible about it. "I tripped and fell. I let down my teacher, my audience, and my family." What are some antidote thoughts that might be helpful to Denise at this time? There are not many people who are good at everything. What about you? Are there some things that are quite hard for you? Do you sometimes put yourself down because of this? What poison thoughts do you get sometimes? And what antidote thoughts do you need? We are in the mind of a boy named Grant. Grant is waiting out in the car while his mother is inside the school having a meeting with Grant's teacher. As Grant's mother walks towards the car, Grant sees that she is crying. Grant thinks to himself, "I always make my mother cry." What do you think about the way Grant is blaming himself? Can you think of any antidote thoughts that could be helpful to him now? It's good to try hard to make your family proud of you, and it's normal to feel bad if you let them down. But if you feel as guilty as Grant, that's taking it too far. Can you think of a time when your feelings of guilt were much stronger than they should have been? What were your poison thoughts? What antidote thoughts did you need?